Coming to you from the Lydia Media Studios in the heart of Lewiston, Auburn, it's Lydia's Lunch Bunch, LA's afternoon morning show with Mark and Sarah. We're covering news and events in the greater LA area and talking to the people making a difference in our community. Feel free to share your comments, questions, or suggestions via email at podcast@lydiamediallc.com.
And today's show is brought to you by United Piping, serving residential and commercial customers with new installations and repairs. Call today and schedule your oil and gas boiler cleanings at 754-4556. UPI, the best plumbers around. Also brought to you by Ruper's Beverage and Redemption. When it comes to beer, wine, and spirits, don't botch it, squatch it. At 5 locations in Lewiston, Auburn, and Oxford. Learn more at rupersbeverage.com, and remember, the party starts at Ruper's.
We have the pleasure of being joined in studio today by the founder and program director of ArtVan, Jamie Silvestri. Good morning.
Good morning. So excited to be here.
We so appreciate your time today, and we are going to get into ArtVan and a whole lot more with Jamie coming up here in just a bit. But before we get there, let's take a look at some headlines for Tuesday, May 27th.
The Maine legislature enacted a public safety bill authored by Lewiston Representative Peggy Rotundo. LD 386 will allow law enforcement officers and criminal justice agencies to share information with school officials about minors possessing firearms or other dangerous weapons. Rotundo says the legislation increases safety at Maine schools and our communities at large.
The Environmental Protection Agency canceled PFAS research grants to several Maine organizations, delaying research into how PFAS moves through the food chain. The termination letter from the EPA said the grants are no longer aligned with the agency's priorities, which contradicts public statements made by EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin.
Senator Angus King is co-sponsoring legislation to expand Medicare's ability to negotiate drug prices and lower prescription medication costs. The legislation would also give the Department of Health and Human Services stronger tools to negotiate lower drug prices in Medicare Part B and Part D.
And the City of Lewiston has scheduled another meet and greet with City Administrator Brian Cainrath. The public is invited to Geiger Elementary School at 601 College Street on Tuesday, June 10th at 5 p.m.
You want to talk about the weather?
Let's talk about the weather. Jamie, this is part of the reason why you're wearing headphones now, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be able to hear our weather jingle that Sarah recorded. Are you ready for this?
Glad I have these on.
All right, here we go.
I'm ready.
Rain or shine, it's all okay. Grab your uke and start the day. Clouds may come or skies turn blue. Weather's fun with me and you. The sun is bright and storms may brew. Every day's a brand new view. You don't need perfect skies above. Hey, just a song and a little love.
Wow, that was awesome.
Not bad, right?
Oh,
I loved it. What a way to start the morning.
Right?
Yeah. I'm excited about the weather. For the last few weeks, Jamie, we've just been lamenting it almost every day because it's basically the same forecast. It's cold and it's raining, and it's cloudy and it's
in the 40s and 50s and it's raining.
Yeah. So this is a sparkly forecast. It's going to be sunny today with a high of 76 and a low of 48, and then cloudy tomorrow, but we'll have a high of 79 and a low of 51. Showers on Thursday with highs in the 60s.
In sports, the Red Sox, well, they still stink.
Yep.
They lost to the Milwaukee Brewers 3-2, and they'll play again tonight at 7:30.
And the Maine Mayhem will visit the New York Knockout on Saturday night.
There you go. That's your news, weather, and sports. And right now, it's time for the podcast segment that is Sweeping the Twin Cities. It's time for famous people birthdays.
They're famous. It's their birthdays. It's famous people birthdays. It's famous people birthdays.
Let's take a look at FPBs for May the 27th, shall we?
Okie doke.
All right. We're going to start off with Jack McBrayer,
Oh, I love him.
who is 52 years old today.
He's so funny.
Yeah. He played Kenny on 30 Rock.
Yeah. He must be Southern.
He's too nice.
He's so nice.
So nice. So nice, it's you question whether or not he's being serious or
Yeah.
not.
He's so good. He's one of those faces where you're like, oh, that guy. And he just sort of pops up in like a ton of different sitcoms too, where you're like, this is a unique character and he's the perfect person for it.
Actor Todd Bridges from Different Strokes is 60 years old today. He was the Willis in the "What You Talking About Willis" catchphrase.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
Yep. And we have Adam Carolla,
Oh, yeah.
61 years old today. Actor, comedian, radio personality.
He did the Man Show.
He did.
Right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, he
Yeah.
did. He and
Jimmy
Kimmel. Yep. He's also on Crank Yankers and a lot of that.
Silly show.
Actor Kathy Silvers is 64 years old today. She played Jenny Piccolo on Happy Days
Oh, wow.
back in the later seasons in the mid 80s.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I don't recall.
Right. You're way too young
No.
to remember
remember.
anything about Happy Days.
Okay. I remember Happy Days. I remember that Joni loved Chachi.
Oh, yeah. You remember the spin offs.
I remember that.
And rounding out FPBs for May the 27th is actor Lee Meriwether, who is 90 years old today. She was the winner in the 1955 Miss America pageant and got her big break on Barnaby Jones. She played Betty Jones, the main character's secretary and daughter-in-law, and she also played Catwoman
Yes.
in the theatrical film Batman in 1966.
She replaced Julie Newmar.
She sure did.
Those are big cat ears to fill.
You think things got catty on the set?
They might have.
She also played Ruth Martin on All My Children until the series ended in September of 2011.
Oh, wow. Has it really been that long?
It's
since
been that
All
long.
My Children was on the air?
Yeah. Those are your FPBs. Now let's move on to some OTDs.
Okay. Oh, that's me.
You're in charge of
It's taking
OTD
us-
research, development, and delivery.
Oh, my goodness. Well, 3 years ago in 2022, not going too far back, Top Gun Maverick was released and the world went Tom Cruise crazy.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah.
I never saw the first one and didn't see Maverick. Were they any good?
What do you think?
Yeah. I think it was okay.
Yeah.
Not
That's
my
how
kind
I
of
felt
thing,
about it.
But
Just
yeah.
It was just okay. I saw the first one for the first time when the second one came out, and my significant other was like, "You have to watch Top Gun." So I did, and then I was like, "Yeah, I'm good. Like, I don't need to see the second
thing.
one."
Yeah.
I don't really. Mark knows this, and most of the world at this point does too. I hate Tom Cruise. Like, I just can't.
okay.
I can't stand that guy. There's just something about him I don't like. I don't know what it is.
Hates him, Jane.
Hate's a strong word. I dislike seeing him on screen. It's not my favorite.
There you go. At least you can turn it off or turn it on.
Yeah, he's just he's just not my favorite. How about that?
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10 years ago, in 2015, Tracy Morgan settled his lawsuit with Walmart over the accident with one of their trucks that left him seriously injured. There is no word how much they paid, but he said, quote, "Walmart did right by me and my family." There you go.
Can you deliver that as Tracy Morgan?
I don't know if I can. Walmart did right by me and my family.
That's pretty close.
That was pretty good.
I can't do him, but I can do him doing Brian Fellows. I'm Brian Fellows. Remember that character? I love that guy.
Tracy Morgan doing Brian Fellows talking about Walmart.
So you do it. How about this one? 31 years ago in 1994, The Flintstones was released, the actual live-action movie starring Rosie O'Donnell as Betty Rubble and Halle Berry as Fred's secretary.
Wow.
I never saw the live-action Flintstones.
I think I saw it once, and again, I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I much prefer the cartoon.
Yes.
Oh.
I don't think I ever saw it either.
Yeah, I did love the cartoon as a kid, especially. Oh, here's a great one. And 38 years ago, in 1987, the sound system at a U2 concert in Rome was so loud, neighbors thought an earthquake had hit, and they flooded the emergency lines with panicked calls. Another way that U2 is attacking our countries. Stop it, U2.
Jamie, something else you should know about Sarah. She despises you too.
I feel like we're off on the wrong foot. Now we're only talking about the negative things about me. Like, I can't with you two. I can't with them. Anyways, so
I don't know if you remember back in the day when U2 came out with a new album and Apple automatically put that album on everybody's iTunes.
Oh.
Yeah, so and
I'm
Sarah,
holding a grudge.
so Sarah has an issue with U2, but not Apple, which is strange.
Apple runs the world. So
That's how they run.
Yeah, so you better fall in line.
online. 88 years ago in 1937, the Golden Gate Bridge opened in California, creating a link between San Francisco and Marin County. And every monster that visits San Francisco destroys it.
They keep having to rebuild the Golden Gate Bridge.
And that is your OTDs for today, Tuesday, May 27th.
There you go.
That's great.
Whether you want a sit-down meal or a grab-and-go, Pat's Pizza in Auburn offers delicious sandwiches, pasta, salads, and pizza at family-friendly prices. Pat's Pizza, serving the L.A. area since 1985. Open daily from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. at 85 Center Street in Auburn. Online at patsauburn.com.
Now we shift focus fully to our guest in studio, founder and program director for ArtVan, Jamie Silvestri. And Jamie, before we get to talking about ArtVan, I would love to get your background because I was doing a little bit of research on you and it's fascinating.
Yeah, so I have my background is I'm from New York, a little bit just about an hour and a half from New York City and along the Hudson Valley, and went to school at Syracuse University for a bachelor's in fine arts and focus in illustration. Mm-hmm. And of course, that was the thing to do, was to hit the streets of New York with your portfolio. And of course, I'm someone who just takes a big risk and start at the top, and no computers then, and just kind of made my list and started Life magazine and Times magazine and worked my way down because everybody wanted to know something you had already published. And of course, I just graduated. So I ended up getting 3 different jobs, and one was working I lived in Hoboken, New Jersey prior to it being gentrified, in the project areas, low income, which I could afford. And I worked for a jeweler, and I worked at the Hoboken Boys Club, and I was a bartender and waitress. So the Boys Club allowed me to experience making art with kids on the street. And I was the only female and the only white person there. And there was no budget for art supplies, so I was quite, got to really play around with what I could find off the streets and create art with kids every day after school. And what I had noticed in their artwork at the time, this was the late 80s, and there were images of overcrowdedness and flames and fire, and their stories weren't really very joyful. And what was happening was, back then it was the yuppies, was the dual income couples that were moving in. And so realtors were trying to move out the project area people, the poor, lower income. And there were a lot of fires being set. I would hear fire trucks. Oh. So people would move in with one another. And so I would see these in the images, and that was sort of kind of tapping into my art therapy, which really wasn't a very strong field at the time. And I happened to be on the subway one day and saw this free magazine at the New School courses, and I picked that up, and there was an art therapy course, and I read that. I was like, this sounds so cool. So I took this course, and I loved it. Erica Steinberger was a second-generation art therapist working under Edith Kramer, who was one of the pioneers in the field. And she opened up something for a handful of us who wanted to continue in that framework, in that modality. And so we worked at her studio down in Lower East Side, and we took like an advanced course. I did an internship at Roosevelt St. Luke's Hospital in Harlem, and then decided that that's as far as I could go, and then looked for a degree in it and to pursue that. So I went to Leslie College in Cambridge, Mass. for a degree in expressive arts therapy. So that's my master's, and I chose that because as a visual artist, I focused in the visual arts, but it also offered psychodrama, movement therapy, play therapy, music therapy, and as well. So I thought that would meet more people who had different modes of communication through different creative processes. So I loved it. I worked in hospital settings that were psychiatric and inpatient, which led me to Maine, where I got a job here at helping to open up St. Mary's Adolescent Psychiatric Unit. At the time was new, and was the expressive therapist and group therapist there, and really loved that work. So and here I am.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
So
that is.
It's a great journey.
Yeah.
It's a great journey.
You've experienced a lot of things along the way to making it to here. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
And then I'm sure it's
There's
deeper
a
than
lot.
that.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot more going there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Jamie, what have you found to be the benefits of art, especially with children?
Yeah, I mean, even going back to before I had the degree, at Hoboken Boys Club, it's like, just watching the kids be able to use what they had around them that was trash on the street, and we created like a doormaster, so a junk person, and two, we found a wheelchair, like on the side. So we created, with car parts, and just to see their pride and to see it like it was a welcome person to the club, and to have that. And then I actually got, that allowed them to, in a local gallery, did an art show and got the newspaper to come and had music and food, and none of their parents came. And I'll tell you that still to this day, in some of the neighborhoods we work with, we do get the kids, and we get some parents. We may not get all the parents to come along, but just to see their pride and joy and see themselves identified as an artist as opposed to someone who lives with a stigma of being low-incomed. So I feel like the art is a form of communication that translates for them what they're feeling on a deeper level, and to feel accepted and to feel recognized, to be seen, to tell their story. So I think that's just a nice little launch of what the arts can do and what I love about it.
Yeah.
Seeing just that trust that I can build with someone, that they can feel safe enough to share their insides a little bit through an art, through a theater, through a story, through any of the modalities.
Yeah.
So.
Art can come from anywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to come from high-level income places or, or fancy educations. It just comes from inside of you.
A lot of times when the topic of school budgets comes to the forefront and cuts need to be made, a lot of times the art programs are the first to go.
Mm-hmm. So true.
So true.
Yeah.
And how does that make you feel?
I'm someone who, I have a lot of fire, and I don't get, I'll see it, I'll feel the feelings, wow, that's really sad, that's too bad, because really art making helps, math skills, science skills, left and right brain hemispheres to talk to each other and move, and to help calm someone down in and of itself, especially if it's not product driven. But I just, okay, what do I do? And that's how ArtVan started in 2004, was in the community of Bath. Their arts had been cut at that time due to budget cuts overall in the city. And so it kind of, helped me to launch ArtVan for yet another reason, not just to provide something, an opportunity and access to the arts, but also to healing in neighborhoods that might not, for whatever reason, be able to afford after-school classes or programs. So when that happened, there was a lot of families that wanted, to use the Y or go to the rec for other art programs, but they might not be able to afford it. So I offered a free, no-cost program, at least to neighborhoods in those communities, so that they would still have access. And the arts have picked up the education again. There's been monies in the budgets now to cover that. So, hey, if you get it more than once a week, then that's great. So even better.
Yeah.
So, but our approach is very different as art therapists than what arts educators do. I mean, both is great. They just have different goals and process for getting towards whatever the outcomes might be.
And you travel to people. You bring art to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's hence the van.
Colorful van is parked outside. It's nicely sitting in the sun.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So what is ArtVan all about?
So it is a mobile art therapy organization. So I'm a trained art therapist. And it wouldn't be ArtVan without an art therapist, because that is the foundation of what we do. So as an art therapist, I bring the art as a tool and means for self-expression. Pretty much bottom line. Meeting the same goals as traditional psychotherapy, but I feel like getting there a little quicker than talk therapy. But because we're a non-clinical setting, we're not like how my previous jobs were in inpatient or outpatient. We don't seek diagnosis. We don't, seek family history. But we bring that knowledge, that clinical expertise and knowledge with us. And so whoever walks in the door, we're in 15 different neighborhoods. We're in six communities. And so every week we bring projects, a project design and a theme, and we build relationships. The consistency is really important. So in order to get to that healing part, the therapy part is to be consistent, to build that trust in the relationships so that kids will begin to tell their story, get a little deeper in their art making, get a little deeper in their story. Of course, we're directly in neighborhoods, so we see a lot of behaviors that you may not see if a parent brings or a caseworker brings their child to a clinic or, like Spurwink or Sweetser and brings them to a setting. They walk into the office. We can see them in their rawness, and so then we can work with that. And that's exciting to me. Yeah. So, I like to, here's what it is. This is what it is. So it's already there. So now I can work with it. Mm-hmm. So creating safety as we build that trust. And that's our treatment plan, to create a safe space, really.
How has ArtVan grown over the past 2 decades?
Yeah, like any individual, any organization, you've got your bumps in the road, right? Yeah. So I've grown, and prior to starting ArtVan, I had no idea really what it was like to run a nonprofit. So for me, I had always had jobs and guaranteed my clients and guaranteed a paycheck. So when I started ArtVan, I learned a lot about nonprofit. I just started taking all sorts of workshops and courses up at Maine Nonprofit Association, which were so fabulous. As an art therapist, taking on the directorship as an executive director, becoming our own 501c3 was very challenging for me to, write budgets for grants and write grants. And so these were things I learned. I won't say that I was amazing at. I did it well enough to get us through, and I'm a big connector, very social networker in the communities we live in. So I call on my resources. So it's I know that it's not good for an investor to see me doing everything, right? Because that tends to be burnout for many. So, I use my resources. So eventually I got a grant writer to help me edit my stories, and eventually we were able to roll into hiring an executive director, which was 2022. So that was amazing and fabulous, and I was so happy to pass that on. I had no problem. There's no ego in here to be the director. So to be out in the field is really what I love, doing the art therapy work. That's what I'm trained for. Mm-hmm. So being program director is always what I wanted to be. I never wanted to have that title of executive director. So we have Debbie Forrester, who's just now reaching her 3rd year this January and is retiring at the end of this month and is passing the steering wheel on to Yuko Handa. And we are very excited. Yuko started this week. So it's very exciting to see this growth. It is growth because we have the goal of deepening the work, not necessarily expanding, but deepening the work, and also deepening those relationships in community, not just with the kids, but working with both of you, having this conversation, how to get out into community. So deepening relationships with partnerships for funding support, for volunteer support, to let them know the work we're doing. Our work is somewhat hidden because under-resourced neighborhoods are also hidden from the general community, the downtown area. They may not be that far, but they're far enough. And so when we go and do that work, you don't see us either. You don't really get to see that work as opposed to an organization like Spindleworks in Brunswick or LA Arts or other, Inside Out, where you can walk in off the street and meet the staff, kind of even just get a sense of the space. So we don't have that opportunity. So people don't really know what we do. And they just see this cool, colorful band. And, hey,
it draws people in,
it draws people in, and I get peace signs and thumbs up, and people are taking pictures. And so just that moment to me is that's healing. Just maybe pause someone in there, on their way to work.
What they're doing. Yeah. Get out of your own head.
Yeah. So that's good.
I can imagine when you take the van on the road to different events, you attend Art Walk and different things in the park.
Oh yeah, we'll be here in June for the 27th Art Walk in LA.
Perfect. I'm sure that beautiful, colorful van draws children specifically, but people of all ages to you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And that brings some curiosity about your organization, I bet.
Yep, and we painted every July because that's when we started July 4th Parade in Bath, 2004. So we painted, and people, you got a new van? Like, no.
We just made it new.
We just made it new, and we'll think of a theme. Like, it started with the theme of community, and last year we had our 20-year anniversary, so it was like more about the 20, and that was a big launch for us to be 20 years old, and yeah, rocking it.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
Can you give us a little bit of background on the van, like how it was acquired and the... I'm curious about this stuff.
That's a funny story. So as I was, exploring what it would be like in my home community as an art therapist, not as a mom, as I am a mom, but my kids were in school, so I was looking differently and started running art classes and meeting all the different leaders in the community. One of them was Jack Hart, who was the former director of Bath Rec. And at the time, he was initiating a skate park, the Bath Skate Park, and my son was a skater. So I got on that committee, and then we realized, again, with that budget cut, with lack of art programs, art classes art in schools, and other cuts, that people couldn't afford those art classes I was doing through the rec. And I was bringing my art supplies in my car when I bring my son to the skate park and just setting up for anybody to make art. And there was a lot of interest. So one day, Jack pointed out the window of the room at the rec that I was doing classes and pointed to this van that had 4 flat tires. I don't know, 98 Ford. He said, "You want that van?" I was like, "Whoa, yeah. What can we do with that?" And he says, "Well, maybe we could go to the neighborhoods." I said, "I love that idea." So Public Works fixed it up for us.
Oh.
And July 4th Parade, I had written a grant with the Community Development Block Office, and together we did an 8-week pilot for ArtVan to start in 3 low-income neighborhoods, a homeless teen shelter, and day treatment for people with learning disabilities and a low-income senior housing. So we launched this 8-week program. The van, I didn't know a lot of kids yet, so my own. They always came in and they always had to do something with me. They were part of it. And then a few artists that I met and someone I hired to run the programs with me, we put the van on a tow truck. We outlined images of community, what community means to us, and we painted it during the parade so that it showed the importance of making art. Like, I didn't want to show up with a product. Like, I wanted to show everybody that this is the process, is what matters, is how you make the art, what's going on in the body, what's happening for you watching, like so I wanted to model that. And that happens in every public thing I do. I want to show the process, not just the final product. So it took an hour and 20 minutes to paint the van, the parade. And I don't know if you ever tried painting something moving. It was my first time. It was pretty fascinating, super fun.
Oh my gosh.
Really fun. But it's funny because all the judges, because you get judged, were going around and looking at everybody's floats, and they just kind of came to ours, and they saw this old van on a tow truck.
They're like, "What is
just this white spray paint outlet of images?" And they were like, "Okay,
moving on."
moving on. All right, how'd you get in this? So, and at the end, it was this full-blown work of art. It was beautiful, but people's reaction was so fun. Like, "Are they painting that now? Are they painting it?" So. Yeah, so that was a super initial. So we're always in that parade. That's the start of our anniversary, and we can, we try to get as many kids in the parade now that we can.
So fun. Did people come to find you at the end of the parade to see what it looked like when it was finished?
It was parked in the park. We were doing face painting, and people got to see it
neat.
and were asking about it.
Oh,
yeah.
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really
That's a neat
great.
story.
Mm-hmm.
So what's it going to look like this year?
I don't know yet. That's going to happen sometime in June, the middle of June.
You'll pick a theme?
We'll pick a theme.
Yeah.
Something about wellness, of course.
Yeah.
And joy. We got to bring the joy.
Do you have photos on the website of different iterations of the van? Can we see, like, as the years have passed, like
That's a great idea.
what it looked like?
Ooh.
Okay, well, I'm going to be looking for that now. You're like, oh, interesting. Yes.
That's it. We do, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I probably have them. Yeah.
That would be so cool for people to just, like,
idea. Also-
see year over year, like, each piece of art that you create.
Yeah. I like that. Good marketing, Cap. That's definitely not my area either. Good social networker and connector, but Jamie Crawford is our amazing marketing manager, and she has helped us in the past year that she's worked for us, 2 years. Yeah.
Speaking
Huge.
of the folks that do this with you, I love your website with all of their portraits.
I know.
Those are so beautiful.
Yeah,
and
that's Josie Thessalino
love it.
by her. She worked for us. She's my best friend from college, just visited, hung out in New York 2 weekends ago. Daughter who did an internship with us.
Oh.
And she's remained. They're in Long Island doing that. Yeah.
It's so neat because she seems to have really captured something about each of you.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's really cool.
Thanks.
And you've kept that same van on the road for over 20 years.
No, this is our third van.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
I was
Yeah, this is the third
thinking about that.
one.
I was like, there's no way that
I
that would be amazing, but I
I
just
love
don't.
that van. It broke down, and then I sold it or gave it for like $200 to a gentleman in Bath, and he he cut it down so it would be a truck.
Oh,
And he made the roof a flatbed, like the lining. It was so cool. I do have a
neat.
picture of that. And then he tried to tow something too much on it, and he
oh no!
yeah,
He tore it
and he had
apart.
to send it to the
Yikes.
He cut to the junkyard.
cemetery.
No, that's so sad.
Can you explain what art therapy is?
Yeah. Well, visual art. If we want to look at visual art, as I mentioned, it meets the same goals as traditional psychotherapy. It's as talk therapy, but it's more about the relationship you and I would have while you or we are making art. So it's about this communication in between us that's happening. So I could be making art alongside you. We could do collaborative art, really just coming from a place of curiosity all the time. Like, I've been in the field long enough, especially in working psychiatric care for a long time, that certain images mean something. But that is not what, as our therapist, we go by. People say, oh, what does that mean? Someone bring me someone's drawing. What does that mean? I don't know.
I wasn't there.
Did you ask them? It's their story. Red doesn't always mean anger. It's something like that. So, it's just really finding out their story and their truth. It's from a place of authenticity. And then the art just, it comes from your heart. It's expressive. And if there isn't a goal, like we're going to draw, that beautiful lunchbox together, that's different. You're following those lines. But if you're drawing something that had to do with a past memory or a situation that you're at, what does that look like? Give it a shape, give it a texture. And there's ways we can help people to start off, like me, draw a line. Okay, what does this line remind you of, and how can you finish this image? So, and I think it's really following their lead, whether it's a child or an adult, it doesn't matter. It's all good for everybody.
So it's not like a paint night. We're getting into stuff.
Right. Right.
Although art bars for ArtVan are very different than the traditional paint night. This is one way that we can get out in community, and we do run it similar to model a group, so you can see how we run in a neighborhood, how we start, and what the format is, beginning, middle, and end. And then you make your own art. It could be a painting, it could be watercolor, it could be metal. We've done metal workshops. It could be journal making. So, collage. And so it's similar. So we give a theme, and then people can just, so we demonstrate how the materials are used. We don't demonstrate like this is how you put an eye on a face. Because you may have put the eye up here, and that's okay.
Where you want it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can't see me. I'm pointing to the top of my head. So, wherever you want it. Or you don't want any eyes. So, yeah.
Okay. I love the idea.
Right.
It's really fun.
But the training in working as an art therapist, the clinical training, allows me to ask specific questions depending on how somebody might draw.
Yeah.
So when, there might be something you recognize that you've seen over and over with someone with the same behavior, but then I still don't want to assume that that's what's going on, but allow me to ask questions towards that so I can prove myself right or and help is worth them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite medium to work with?
I like Caran d'Ache crayons, and they can be wet and turn into water, but they're also very could be also smeared like oil pastels, and I like acrylic.
Yeah.
So
Do you find there's a medium that kids gravitate to more than others?
no, but it's nice that I'm seeing with the teenagers wanting to do more sewing and embroidery and crocheting, more fiber arts, which is kind of cool.
That is cool.
And it just says, where's our home ec? As soon as they get it, they want to do it and learn it. And so we're, instead of unfortunately having those home ec environments, they're looking at YouTube trying to learn how to crochet. So we've been doing more of that with middle school into like the younger high school age.
That would be such a cool partnership to get, maybe some folks from an assisted living facility who have been doing it for decades to work with kids in their teens and show them how to do it. Because I feel like my mother has tried so many times to teach me how to crochet, and I get it for like the time that we're sitting there together. But as soon as she walks away, I'm like, I don't remember how to do it. But if they had like a recurring thing where they could just sit with them and chat with them and do it at the same time, I feel like that would be really fun and beneficial to both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would.
Art can do that. It can like connect people in that way.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And we're working with two organizations now with seniors, and that's the focus area of those residential service coordinators of those buildings, because it's to bring people together. They isolate in the rooms, especially since the pandemic. Yeah. So a sense of belonging. Yeah.
So how do these areas and organizations coordinate a visit from ArtVan?
Yeah, so we started in the Bath area. So I kept going. There was those 8 programs, or 8 weeks in those 6 programs, but we chose, out of all of them, were successful to stay with the low-income neighborhoods because they had the least amount of resources and activities and mental health services to them. So that's Bath had 2, and I was getting my oil changed in Brunswick, and next door took my dog for a walk, and that was Perryman Village, which was an all Brunswick Housing Authority. And it really looked like there's a lot of families there, and it looked really run down at the time. And so I connected with that director and asked if I could write a grant and bring ArtVan there for a pilot summer. And we've remained there now 19 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, and then just being popular and, again, connecting with people. Lewiston Public Library, ended up there, Kennedy Park, Auburn Housing Authority. We're still in all of these areas, all of these still same neighborhoods. And then most recent is Rumford. So we expanded there 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. So...
You have a van finder on your website. That's kind of cool. It tells folks where you're going to be.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. You do some special events, too. You have your regularly scheduled times, but you also have different, like, art walk and other things. So do you have
especially in the summer and during the holidays. Yeah, again, these are opportunities for us to get out into community, into public. So, and fundraisers. So Vessel and Vine in Brunswick, that's a fundraising event coming up at the end of June. I think it's the 27th. That should be really fun. It'll be one of those art bars, but plein air, at Nicolene, who's the owner of Vessel and Vine. Her home, which is a beautiful garden area. She's an amazing cook and gardener, and it'll be there. And then there's also, I'm mixing up the dates, but at the restaurant will be a Friday night and a Saturday night with her amazing cooking, like a 5-course meal that'll benefit ArtVan. And so please come. I think we're still at the tail end of our 10 by 10 Crescendo fundraiser, where you can still buy paintings 10 by 10 from different artists, ArtVan Youth as well. That's at Dutchman's in Brunswick at Fort Andros. But you can see all the paintings and what's left hasn't been sold. And we're trying to reach a goal, of course, to help support our continued programs. So anyone check those out. They're amazing works of art, super fun. 50% goes to the artist, and another 50% goes to ArtVan. Mm-hmm. Then, Brunswick Art Walk, LA Art Walk, the 27th. We'll be at the Butterfly Festival near Rumford.
Wow.
Something in Rumford.
Doing all kinds of stuff.
Dam Jam in Denmark, Maine. Yeah.
How can folks support ArtVan? Can they do it through the website?
They could do it through the website, buying a painting, get a work of art, that'd be a huge help to us. Call us, call me. We're a small but powerful organization. So there's 6 of us. So there's Debbie, who's the executive director, myself. Right now, the only full-time people we're at the moment hiring, looking for another art therapist or someone who's heavily trained in mental health as well as studio arts to work with me full-time. So there's a position out there, and that post is on there, and then now hiring. And then we have a part-time art therapist, which is wonderful, part-time program assistant who does a lot with more of the events as well as covering for someone if they're sick or on vacation. And then Jamie, our amazing marketing person, marketeer. So we're small but powerful.
Jamie, there's a quote on your website from a young artist that says, "ArtVan is good because it shows what you can do. I would be too scared to do this at home, but I can do it here."
Yeah, isn't that great?
How does that make you feel? When
Woo! I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's working. I know it works. It's just like how do I get it out to community and into action? We need it now more than ever. We need a lot of places to go with our thoughts and feelings because things are really confusing. And, adults may know intellectually what's going on some level, but the kids just feel it. Everything is, they're little sponges, right? So they don't have the words. They don't come home, if you have a supportive spouse and say, "Hey, how's it going? I had a bad day today. Like, this is what happened," Then kids, they'll act it out. They'll hold it in. So, if we can support them to find and build that toolbox for release, and they get it. Like, we have a consistent structure. When we honk around the neighborhood as we drive in, it's showtime. Kids come. Some help us unload. We set up the materials. They sit down at the tables in the summer or outside, which I love, summertime ArtVan. And then we do a check-in. And depending, that's our assessment time. I'm going to, even though we're in the same neighborhood, I'm going to do a quick assessment. Who's here? What's the average age? What's the mood? What's the energy level? So that'll help me understand, what kind of a quick check-in, just simple, what's your favorite color? Or, who are you in the world? Something a little more deeper. And then we do a project demo of the materials, and then it's an hour and a half and 2 hours in the summer. So you can do whatever you want. As long as you follow our 3 rules of respect, you're safe with yourself, safe with and respectful of each other, and then the space and materials, you can go to town.
Yeah.
And kids will know, we'll demo, so that's the difference in the demo is we'll say we're using, some oil pastel and say, boy, today I'm feeling, because of what I observed, might be some tension, I had a lot of energy, and I'm going to, really smudge and smidgel, and then, and can I smush this around? Yes, I could put it on the table and I could smush it with my hand and look at, can I blend colors? Yes. What color is this? Yellow. It's just it's like a performance. And then, but they'll say now, what can I do if I'm feeling angry? Scribble, you can tear your paper, you can crumple it up.
Yeah.
If you can, chat with me before, tell me what's going on. But if not, it's okay. All us artists need a warm up, just like an athlete. So, it's really action oriented, but it also brings calmness. And we hope that they leave calm and proud of their art, whether they just did a scribble drawing or they tore something up or whether they just, made this less responsive picture of, my house, my dog,
Right.
It's all good.
Right.
Still there.
Yeah.
Still in it.
Jamie, this has been fascinating.
Yeah.
Is there anything else about ArtVan that you would like our listeners to know before we move on to our final segment?
No, I appreciate how you asked the question of how to support, and that would be wonderful because, as I mentioned, people don't really know what we do.
Right.
And come visit us and volunteer. We have a strong board of directors, always looking for new directors. See what that's like, or an advisor. Be a part of it. Be a part of the solutions. I'm a solutionary. So come join us, and we're a pretty good team.
We need more people like you in
I
the
think
world.
we do.
Yeah, a whole bunch of them.
All right.
For sure.
Let's do it.
If you'd like to learn more about ArtVan online, you can go to artvanprogram.org.
And visit their art exhibit gallery because you can actually see some of the work that folks are doing, and you can help out too because there's They're for sale.
Yay. Yeah.
I'm seeing all kinds of cool stuff on here.
Locally owned and locally focused, Lydia Media celebrates the heart of the greater Lewiston-Auburn area through 2 magazines, Uncle Andy's Digest and LA Metro Magazine, and the new Lydia's Lunch Bunch podcast. Each production shines a positive light on local businesses, nonprofits, events, and individuals making a difference in our community. Keep your advertising dollars local and position your business in front of your target audience with Lydia Media. Learn more at lydiamediallc.com.
Thank you both so much for inviting me. This was
Of
awesome.
course. Thank you. Before we let you go, Jamie, we do have one final segment. It's called 3 Random Questions, where we get to know you a little bit outside of ArtVan.
Okay.
I'll start. Jamie, what is your favorite way to unwind after a busy, stressful day?
Well, it depends on the time of day. When I get home, usually the days are long, so it'll be cooking. I love to cook. My other favorite support, not just the arts, is environment and earth and art. So buying locally, going to the farmer's market on a Saturday, get excited about my cooking and what I can conjure up. But the other thing would be the garden and nature. Yeah.
Connect.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I have one.
Yep.
Question for you. Which famous musician do you think would be the best teacher?
Oh my gosh, I'm terrible with names. I don't know.
It's okay.
I don't know.
You want to pass? You want a different question?
His favorite teacher in
Like if there was a musician that you were especially fond of, do you think that they would be a good teacher?
Yeah, I love to dance, so and move. So I feel like music that allows me to move. I don't know who the name is. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Your
very.
answer.
I'm
You
very
can-
right-brained. Yeah, something positive. I think things with positive hopefulness, lyrical sounds. I also know there's a place, but I'm not there anymore. And the angry angst teen, there's some release there. It's like the see the music therapy piece, you know. But I'm not there anymore.
A little Lars would be a good English teacher, or maybe you could get Fred Durst
Yeah,
to teach health class.
yeah, right. Gotta have that release. Yeah,
I'd pay to see that.
channel it.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I love Michael Franti, and I'm going to see him this summer.
Oh.
I feel like he's
Oh,
got
there you
great
go.
positive messages.
Yeah, I bet he would be a good teacher. Actually,
Yeah.
yeah. He would be that teacher that just comes in and makes you feel good about
Yeah.
yourself.
Yep.
See,
right.
you got there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
You found your way.
All right, Jamie, final question.
Yeah.
If you could only eat one food for a month, what would it be?
Pizza.
Pizza.
That's a good answer.
My homemade pizza, I brought it for lunch today. I made it last night. Except our grill went on fire making it, but it was still good.
What happened? Should we know about this?
Just so grease that other things in
Yeah.
it. You have to get the grill really hot. And I had a
Yes.
stone on there, and I put the pizza in, and next thing you know, it was on fire. It was like, oh no!
Yeah.
Whoopsies.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I learned how to use a charcoal briquettes yesterday
Ooh,
for the first time in my life.
nice.
That was an unusual experience.
Yeah.
They cook differently
yeah.
than other methods of, like, for instance, fire or propane. I found it interesting.
Yeah.
It was a process.
You
It's
learned.
always a process.
It was a
See?
process.
It's so good.
I learned.
It's good.
I learned.
Jamie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for the work you're doing in our communities and will continue to do.
Yes.
And continue to make
Another
this
20
world.
years. Here we go.
Yeah. Support. That's what we need.
She is Jamie Silvestri, founder and program director for ArtVan. We want to thank our sponsors for today, Ruper's Beverage and Redemption and United Piping. And if you'd like to be part of the Lydia's Lunch Bunch advertising family, reach out to Pam via email at pam@lydiamediallc.com.
Have a great day. And remember, don't bite your cat. And I will say I have bitten my cat.